Whether you're a chestnut farmer, a food lover, or simply curious about this versatile nut, branching out with United Chestnuts is your guide to a thriving chestnut community. So join us as we explore the many branches of the chestnut tree, uncover the untold stories, and branching out together towards a sustainable future. And now, your host of Branching Out, Melanie Jones.
Welcome to another exciting episode of Branching Out, the podcast that delves deep into the world of chestnuts. I'm your host, Melanie Jones, and today we have the honor of sitting down with a true titan in the chestnut community, Roger Blackwell. Roger wears multiple hats, serving as the president of New Era Chestnuts, the president of Chestnut Growers of America, and the president of Chestnut Growers, Inc. With an illustrious career in the chestnut industry, he is also an active member of the esteemed Midwest Chestnut Producers Council. Join us as we uncover the challenges and triumphs Roger has faced, the innovations he's spearheaded, and the visions that he has for the future of the chestnut cultivation. Whether you're a farmer, seasoned chestnut enthusiast, or just dipping your toes into this fascinating world, this episode promises to inspire, educate, and deepen your appreciation for the timeless allure of chestnuts. So sit back, relax, and let's branch out together with Roger Blackwell on Branching Out Podcast.
All right, Roger. Well, thank you for joining today. The United Chestnuts community is publishing a weekly blog that's tips and information about events that are happening in the industry. And now we have the opportunity to interview a couple of select industry leaders such as yourself. So I could not think of a better first guest than you. And I'm looking at your credentials. You know, you're the president of New Era Chestnuts that we'll talk about in a minute. President of the Chestnut Growers of America.
Yes.
President of Chestnut Growers, Inc., which I really want to dive into. And then an active member in the Midwest Chestnut Producers Council, and that's where you and I met.
Sure.
So your credentials are darn impressive. And I'm just wondering, how do you manage all of this? And why do you take on the responsibility of these leadership roles?
Okay. Well, really, it's a team effort among people that are in each one of these organizations working together. Let's see now. New Era Chestnuts is my own company, and I partnered with my brother-in-law, and we started our business back in 2007 when we bought the orchard that we currently own and grow chestnuts at. And we have 53 acres in Michigan. It's kind of between Ludington and Muskegon, and we're about miles inland from Lake Michigan. And it's the fruit belt of Michigan. And there's a lot of blueberry farms and a lot of apple orchards in the area where we grow chestnuts. And it's just the right soil pH and the right growing conditions for a chestnut orchard.
Yeah,
that's where that comes from. And that it's a partnership with my brother-in-law and both of our wives. Unfortunately, my brother-in-law's wife passed away last year, but it was a kind of a partnership of 4 people with our personal orchard. Chestnut Growers, Inc. is a cooperative, and we have currently 40 members in our cooperative. The goal of our CGI, as we call it, is to grow a commercial chestnut industry in the state of Michigan. And we help all of our growers in getting things going. You can't join the co-op until you bring in production. But even before, if you want help, we will help you along the way as far as developing your orchard and getting it going. We've been successful. The co-op was started in 2002. We put together a steering committee, actually from people that were in MCPC, to develop a profit-making organization. The MCPC is really a nonprofit, And we use that vehicle for getting grants, as well as helping to teach the public and teach our growers about chestnuts. That's kind of our learning organization. We we've come a long ways. Every year has been we make changes to our operation, and now we can process 4,000 pounds an hour
Wow.
operation, which is located in Clarksville, Michigan. It's another MSU facility that we rent space from, and we pay for the utilities during the time that we're processing and that sort of thing. But we have refrigeration at that location, which really helps us with keeping the chestnuts fresh.
Yeah.
We I'll tell you right now from the beginning is, if it wasn't for Michigan State University and some of the professors, and in particular Dr. Dennis Fulbright, who
Yep.
passed away in 2019. He was very he's the reason why I'm in chestnuts. We started chestnuts with my father-in-law back in 1989, and we were planting seedlings on a property that my father-in-law owned, and we were planting Chinese seedlings. And over a period of about 12 years, we planted over 3,000 seedlings, and at different points they would die, and we replanted. From that experience, I learned really what was wrong in how we were doing things, and learned better ways. And we were planting on the wrong piece of property. It was heavy clay. It was a high pH. It was 7 at least. The pH was. We had lots of deer. We didn't have the orchard fenced in at all. It's great deer hunting. We had some great times deer hunting there on this property, but it just wasn't the right location. It's in the middle of the state, about it was north or southwest of Lansing, Michigan, a place called Nashville, and well, actually, I'm sorry, Vermontville, not Nashville, Vermontville, and it was good for corn and soybeans. It wasn't good for growing a chestnut orchard. So
Yeah.
in 2004, I was talking to my father-in-law about, let's sell this place and find a new location. And unfortunately, he died that year, and we didn't do that. But we ended up selling the property, which is 114 acres at that time. And then my brother-in-law and I continued to look for a good location, and we met another chestnut grower that was in his 90s, and he wanted to sell his property to somebody that's going to continue the chestnut trees that he had started back in 2000. We ended up buying the property in 2007, and hence the New Era Chestnuts LLC became live and well and continued to move along.
I didn't realize that for New Era Chestnut. So that's interesting. Let me ask you a quick question here. What did you do prior to getting into this business?
Okay, well, I worked for the Postal Service.
Okay.
I had a great career. I spent 36 years with the Postal Service. I started out as a letter carrier, and I worked as a clerk also, but within about 4 years I was in management, and I ended up being in management for like 32 years. I had the opportunity to be a supervisor, what we call line supervisor, and then I've been we relocated, and it's not because the Postal Service relocated me, but we moved around a lot. We've lived in got to go back a little bit here. We've lived in Springfield, Illinois, and I got a promotion there to take a job in Springfield, and that was exciting. at the time, and then ended up moving up to Traverse City, and I was
Okay.
the assistant postmaster or superintendent of postal operations in Traverse City. Then I got the opportunity to become a master instructor, and
Oh,
we moved
wow.
to
Mhm.
Potomac, Maryland, and lived actually Gaithersburg, Maryland, and basically the Washington D.C. area, and worked as an instructor there for 2.5 years, and then I got another promotion to go to Chicago metropolitan area and work there for let's see now 6 years there, and then family was in Michigan, and we come back and forth to Michigan and work with my father-in-law at the time, and worked on chestnuts as well. And then I got another I got another promotion to I was postmaster of Holland, Michigan, and was there for about 2.5 years, and then got promoted to the east side of the state to manager of post office operations. And then in that time, I became a postmaster of Southfield, Michigan. And then I got some special projects in my career. And then I retired in 2011,
Yeah.
Postal
And
Service. But in the
uh,
meantime, I was always working on, I got my MBA back in 1992, and I had a desire to have my own business. I was always looking at different opportunities for a business to own, and chestnuts really spiked my interest and inspired me. So I really focused on the chestnut industry and actually drew up a business plan for a 20-acre chestnut orchard, and I don't know, had that published way back when, and then actually had that in the back of my mind as far as developing a business, and that's where kind of the stuff I did with my father-in-law, and then ultimately the New Era Chestnuts
yeah,
business.
do you feel like you've been a pioneer in the development of the co-op concept?
Um, well, not a pioneer in co-ops, but a pioneer in organizing and getting a chestnut co-op. As far, this is my opinion. I'm not aware of, and I know pretty much everything that's going on in chestnuts across the country, but we're actually a chestnut cooperative. There's a couple other places that say they're, kind of a co-op, but we're really actually a marketing co-op for the chestnut industry. And each member buys a share of stock when they join. It's $25, and then we have an application fee of, like right now, it's $300. Eventually, we think the application fee will go up in price, but right now it's $300 to join. And then each owner, including myself, are we own an equal share of stock in the company,
Yeah.
and we share in the equipment and the facilities that we process the chestnuts. And basically, we're doing operations that everybody would have to do, but as a cooperative, all you need to do as a grower of chestnuts is bring your chestnuts into the processing operation, and we take care of the rest.
Yeah. And do you feel like this is the way that the US needs to go in order to really increase demand and awareness of the product in the United States?
I think it's one model that works very well, and I think other states could do the same thing.
Yeah. I asked you once if you would develop a franchise model and sell it to me, and you said not at this time. Have you changed your mind?
No, I don't know that I need to sell it to, I mean, we can help you. We're incorporated under the state of Michigan's business law, and we have our bylaws and everything based on a cooperative, and we can add things to the contract. For instance, if you're part of the co-op, you cannot sell, you can sell chestnuts off your farm directly to consumers, but not to the local grocery store down the street.
Okay.
Co-op, because that would be competition to what we're doing.
Yeah.
And the second thing is you can't set up a website and sell chestnuts on the internet from your business, local business. Because we sell on the internet. We have a Chestnut Growers Inc. website. So that would be competition too. So those are the two. But you could have a U-pick operation or sell your chestnuts to consumers, not for reuse, for a consumer to come up and say, well, I'm buying your chestnuts, and walk down the street and be selling it in a market. That would be competitive against the cooperative rules. So that's
you're looking for all-in participation to be a member and an owner, and that
right.
So that makes sense. What we're seeing. So Brad and I are relatively new in this business. We've been working on this for about 8 years, so really new. But because we sell trees, we've talked to so many people that are entering into this business, and that's one of the reasons that we wanted to start this community, is to try to share the knowledge we're learning, so everyone that decides to get into the business doesn't have to call Roger, and ask how to do it. So I was just wondering, like, there's so much to learn. And rather than talking on our time here about all the things to learn, I was more interested in what's your overall message to these new people that are looking for land and, researching how to create the orchards. It's hard, but it's rewarding, right?
It is. And if you're, well, one of the first things I tell everybody, and it's kind of like real estate. If you're buying property, you need to look at what's growing already, either on the property or right next door.
Yeah.
In some instances, if there had been chestnut orchards around, let's say there's a chestnut orchard or some chestnut trees that are growing in Kentucky, that could be a very good location for establishing an orchard. The other thing, I look for is blueberries or peaches are great, or apples. Those are good fruit trees and I'm going to back up here. Chestnuts are really a fruit. They're not really a nut.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, it's, unfortunately they call it is a chestnut, and then it falls into that category of a nut tree. But in reality, chestnuts are 55% water, moisture. And it's important to recognize that. That's why refrigeration comes into focus, because in order to keep chestnuts fresh, you need to stabilize a nut, and 32 degrees will stabilize it, so it's not going to aspire or dehydrate, and it holds its moisture, so that it's truly a fresh chestnut when you sell it in the marketplace. And I do a lot when the buyers that buy our chestnuts, they've learned from me that there's been buyers we've experienced as well. We had a big buyer that came in, and they wanted enough chestnuts to last from beginning of November to the end of December. And they bought that volume. And about the first part of December, their chestnuts were not they were dehydrating. They were becoming bad, and also they became moldy. And they said, we can't use these chestnuts. And we ended up we guarantee all of our stuff, so we refunded them some money for those chestnuts. But if you are a buyer and you talk to me, and I'm also the lead salesman for Chestnut Growers. So if you come to me and you say, well, I want to buy chestnuts, I say, well, I'm going to sell you enough for 2 weeks, and then I'll resupply you. and because I'll hold the chestnuts at 32, maybe in your stores you'll hold it at 40 degrees. Maybe you'll be closer to 35. Hopefully you are in the 30s, but more than likely you're going to be using refrigeration that's at 40 degrees. So I'll sell you enough so that you can move your chestnuts in 2 weeks, and then we'll resupply you at the end of those 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And that works very well for us because our chestnuts are usually, we can compete with the Italian chestnuts because our chestnuts turn out to be fresher than the Italian chestnuts.
Yes. What do you think there's more demand currently from like commercial purchasers versus individuals, or are we seeing any kind of a change there, do you think?
Well, we okay. We've learned on the internet, our sales have increased tremendously. We actually have a period of time where we probably are only on the internet for like 30 days, and then we sell out. We determine like how many pounds we're gonna offer to the general public on the internet, and then we just close it down. We can only supply so much there.
Yeah.
And I know what I know what the market is in Michigan with my major buyers. I mean, we sell to Meijer, we sell to Whole Foods. We worked at Detroit Produce Terminal, has a buyer there that actually is our biggest buyer, and they buy thousands of pounds of chestnuts. The advantage of the co-op is that not all 40 growers are going to have chestnuts every year.
True.
So
True.
yeah, so I mean, so we're able to have thousands of chestnuts, and I can supply a group of buyers in the state of Michigan fairly easily now. And right now we're hovering around the 200,000 pound number. I believe in the next, well, probably within the next 5 years, we'll have closer to 500,000 pounds. And then probably in the next, well, and this will be, I'm not sure, I can project out, but maybe another 10 years. So we're talking 15 years from now, we'll be eclipsing 1 million pounds of chestnuts.
Isn't that exciting? You know, one of the things that really I love about this industry is this idea of creating more demand in the US to educate the population that this product that we've forgotten for the most part. Do you see that that's just untapped potential for us to, as growers, to get busy and share the message?
It's untapped, but don't get too far ahead of yourself. First you got to put the trees. You have to have the right trees in the ground in the right location. They've got to develop, and after about 10 years, you'll have some decent production.
Mm-hmm.
After 15 years, you should be, and you'll know kind of what your orchard will do. Now, by the way, that's my experience with grafted cultivars that we're growing here in Michigan. There's the, growing seedlings philosophy, and then there's the growing philosophy of grafted trees.
True.
But you don't want to get, the demand is there right now. The demand, but you're right. I mean, there is education that needs to take place. I used to go down to Eastern Market, which is the biggest farmers market in the state of Michigan. And it's downtown in Detroit, kind of East Detroit area. It's been there for years. I mean, I know it's been there for over 100 years. And the Saturday before Thanksgiving, we'd go down and roast chestnuts and sell roast chestnuts to people. And we had a clientele, and then we did another Saturday in December. But we found that Eastern Market, as it's gotten better and better and better, you got to be a player where you're there every day of the week. And
Yeah.
that's not what I wanted to do. So, I mean, there's an opportunity there, but the demand for good quality chestnuts is there. The education piece will come as we move along with chestnuts. Roasting chestnuts, I've done it in front of grocery stores years ago, and doing it in front of grocery stores is kind of interesting because when you're usually going to the grocery store, most customers are on a mission to do what they want to get. So for them to stop for a minute and try a chestnut
Yeah. Well,
is hard.
that's what,
It's hard to do. But if if you do, there's farmers market stuff if you want to get out there and do, because you'll find that probably every other person will say, "Well, I've never had a roasted chestnut."
well, that's what I'm saying is, in my career at court, I travel almost every week and I talk to just so many people, and almost maybe 90% know what a chestnut is in theory, but have never had one. So I say to myself, as an industry, I'm not even talking about us at United Chestnut, but as an industry, we're able to have the poundage that you're talking about so that we can tell the story as a collective group. I think we'll see that very healthful product, rise, and have all the new growers that are coming into the industry continue to sell out like y'all have been doing.
Right, right, and that's that. Well, and the other thing is, well, we've been able to raise the price too,
Yes, that's true.
because some chestnut growers have said, "Well, Roger, if you have too many chestnuts, will we be able to get the same amount of money we're getting right now?" Well, I'm here to tell you, the inflation. We cranked our price up to what inflation was doing, and none of my buyers blinked an eye.
Yeah, for sure.
You know,
Roger, do you see a day when maybe I have a co-op, you have a co-op, and someone in Iowa has a co-op, that the co-ops would work together to sell to Whole Foods as a brand? Do you
sure,
see? Okay, yeah,
yeah, that could happen. We also had on our chestnut orchard, we had Christmas trees. We had Fraser firs, and I belong to the Michigan Christmas Tree Association, and that's national too.
yeah,
The National Christmas Tree Association, and you would as a member, they would assess, how many trees you have, and then they would assess you, I don't know, 10 cents a tree or 25 cents a tree, and you would uh, that monies would go to a national Christmas Tree Association way of marketing, and that's monies would go towards a national marketing campaign. And I just an offshoot of that is, and I looked at this a while back, but we could do a marketing, um, uh, like a 90-second uh, marketing video, an advertisement for chestnuts, and it could be a national thing.
yeah.
I was looking at it for just Michigan to do that, but I wouldn't have enough. The thing with marketing that way, there's not enough chestnuts uh, in production right now that would satisfy the public.
Yes, yeah, like you said, don't get ahead of ourselves, but you know, if we're encouraging people to investigate having farms and becoming growers, we want to know that there's sustainable growth for the investment because it's expensive and a lot of hard work.
The chestnut industry is quickly growing in the U.S. We encourage participation in organizations like the Chestnut Growers of America, the Midwest Chestnut Producers Council, and the Northern Nut Growers Association. Reach out to info@unitedchestnuts.com for help getting connected. And now, back to branching out.
But I sure feel that there is.
Yeah, but yeah, that's why I'm saying I don't,
Yeah.
we're still a young industry. We're not, the Italy is producing millions of pounds of chestnuts, and they bring in millions of dollars worth of chestnuts. I don't know the exact poundage at this point in time, but they're the biggest import of chestnuts that occur in the United States.
Right. And so if there was a marketing council or something at one point, that would be a little bit different than the Chestnut Growers Association. And that would be a good kind of segue into what is that organization intended to be about, and what is your leadership role as the president?
Well, I haven't got that. my leadership role right now, and somebody else is going to need to succeed me in the near future to be president of Chestnut Growers Inc. My focus is to help anybody, but then I also have the other role where I'm president of Chestnut Growers of America, and I kind of fill in that same. My goal is to educate and help growers all over the United States, and also I learn from all the growers across the United States. But it's not, it's well, number one, it's not a get rich quick scheme. It's understanding the market, and I think I understand the market a lot. Even I'm working. Okay, just to go off to a sideline. Even though I'm working on value-added products utilizing chestnuts, like we make chestnut chips and we make chestnut flour here in Michigan, but the demand. Well, number one, the product is expensive because it takes 3 pounds of chestnuts to make 1 pound of a dried product, whether it's chestnut chips or it's chestnut flour. So, and when we can sell the majority of our chestnuts that are good in the marketplace, and get the dollar amount that we get, it's better to sell fresh than it is to sell the value added products, because it's expensive. Our product is not cheap. Like I have breweries that wanted to buy our chestnut chips for $5 a pound. I can't sell it for $5 a pound because it costs at least $6 just to buy the chestnuts to make the value added product. And
yeah, and an increased supply could change that down the road, but right now that's definitely not the case.
Yeah, we're not ready. I'm focused on doing that because I'm looking to the future, like 20 years out.
Yeah.
But,
yeah, for sure. That's the way we're looking at it too. And there's a number of people that are maybe changing careers that are looking to get into this, that are like us, active, want to have something to keep us going and innovative and thinking and everything like that. So I believe that the organizations like Chestnut Growers Association and the Midwest Chestnut Producers Council are great places to go and meet other people and learn. But I wanted to ask your opinion, is that there's so much to learn that I almost feel like when people are asking me, it's better to say, here are the resources where to go learn, instead of just saying, this is our opinion of how you run this business. Like Greg Miller has a view, you have a view, Tom Wall has a view, I have a view. Like at some point people have to do their own research, and I wanted to see if you agree with that.
I do agree with that. And that's where I kind of, Dennis Fulbright, bless his soul, got me really involved. Well, he got me, if it wasn't for him I met him in 1992, I would not be doing chestnuts.
Yeah.
Because at that point I saw a lot of frustration in what we were trying to grow in a wrong piece of property in Michigan. And I knew, and there wasn't a lot of information, good information to learn from at that point. Since then, there's a lot more information online. There's a lot more chestnuts.msu.edu has a
Yep.
whole list of things and a business plan, business model to use. And that is good information for growers that are interested, or people that are interested in growing chestnuts.
Yeah. If you had to do it again, would you enter the chestnut business?
Well, with the knowledge I have now, yes. It was, I mean, I saw an opportunity there, but I wasn't quite sure if it was a good thing or not. And then, but now, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting that as we've learned that the universities, several of them, Michigan State and University of Missouri, et cetera, are so focused on finding solutions to some of the problems. And I imagine that wasn't as prevalent when you got started, as the universities taking an active role in that.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't. I mean, I think the University of Missouri was doing some things back then, but really, I mean, one of the pioneers and the efforts that Dennis Fulbright put forth really was a breakthrough as far as getting things going with chestnut.
Wow. I wish I could have met him.
Yeah, he's a very dynamic individual, and he was a good friend, and
Okay.
cancer unfortunately took his life.
Yeah.
So,
well, here's a, I'm not sure your opinion on this, but there's a lot of talk about what are the best trees to plant.
yes, there is.
Is that just a big snowball? I shouldn't even go down that path right now because of all the discussion about it.
Well, here's my opinion, and it's based on really my involvement with Chestnut Growers of America. And I'll just use an example. Dunstan. It's a seedling. Some people graft the Dunstan as well, but it's Chinese primarily. It's a good tree. It has a good tasting nut. It grows rather well in different locations in the United States. It even grows well in Florida.
Yeah.
You know, and it's a hardy tree, and it's a good tree. There's some cultivars that grow very well in California. There's some cultivars that on the western side of the country that do well. In Michigan, we did a major planning. We looked at Colossal, which is another, you know, it's a Japanese, European cultivar mix, and it does well in Michigan. It actually does well out in California. It grows a large nut. There's conversation about, well, the Colossal doesn't taste good. Well, I'm here to tell you, in Michigan, the Colossal grows well, and it also tastes good because of the soils and the environment. Excuse me. I've had Colossal grown in Washington State, and it doesn't taste as sweet as it does in Michigan. But, you know.
So, yeah, so there's a lot of variables, right? And
right. There's a lot of variables, and that's why I get down to certain cultivars or seedlings may grow better in different locations in the United States.
Yeah. And I know I read something Amy Miller said about, you know, it's smart if you can to have some different type of cultivars, et cetera, and even different pieces of your land, because one season frost might hit here or a disease hits there, and just having a little bit of a mix. Whereas some other folks might have all one type of tree. So maybe it just depends.
Diversity is important. I have a diverse orchard of different cultivars, but I do not mix Chinese with we call them Euros, but the hybrid, which is Japanese, European mix, because the pollination seems to cause a problem called internal kernel breakdown. And
Okay.
basically it's kind of like a brown rot internally, but it's not compatible.
Do you have some in one part of your land, or they're not there at all?
I don't have any Chinese in my property.
Okay, got it. I got it. All right.
Different cultivars of European, Japanese, and I have some that are French cultivars. I have a Bush de Betezac, which was supposed to be what's called gall wasp resistant. We're not sure if that's true or not now, because we've seen, but it does. There seems to be some resistance with the Bush de Betezac. I have colossal. I have precocious magul, which is a pollinator. You need to have the right amount of what I call boy-girl trees. You need good pollinators. I have Nevada originally, but my Nevadas are slowly dying off. So I've shifted over to precocious magul, which I've got planted in various locations in my orchard. And so yeah, you got to use have diversity in your orchard. If you're going to grow Chinese, I have customers that really love Chinese chestnuts, and I wish I had more orchards that primarily were Chinese. And Chinese does well here in Michigan, and especially some of the different cultivars that University of Missouri has, like peach and Ching and
sleeping giant, Mossberger.
Yep, those are good. But in some locations, they may not grow well in Michigan.
Yeah, I think you were mentioning that. It's at the last Midwest Chestnut Producers Council meeting, the president, Corey Allen, said to somebody like, great, another problem to look forward to. Because it's almost like if it's not one thing, it's another. But I think, we just keep figuring things out. And with the availability of sharing information, it's just going to help everyone in the long run to keep talking about it. And appreciate like Erin Lizotte at Michigan State for her work and her team. And I know they just got another grant for the Green Initiative. I think it is the Green Grant. Right. Yeah. So we just keep learning together.
Yeah, and that's Michigan State University. There's the extension service, and we work with Monique. Dr. Monique Sakalidis is taking on research on the brown rot, and she's helping us with this new. I guess oak wilt is somewhat problematic right now, and we didn't. I guess the state of Michigan has the most oak wilt in any state.
Oh, good Lord.
Yeah. So, but that's, we have challenges that we're working on, and Michigan State, we're able to work with them on helping us address those problems.
Yeah, we're working with Clemson on a study that's about evaluating and improving chestnut production and looking at, I think, even growing from a branch and some different things. But it's just fun to see the uptick in interest in the universities of having staff try to get grants and do research, which brings me to a question. I was talking to Virginia Wrinkle
Yes.
and she was saying, what we really need, Melanie, is more lobbying for funding from the government to study the chestnut, like the pecan industry, et cetera. Do you think we're at a point where that kind of effort would have a pay?
It would, but we're still not. We're not that big of an industry. I mean, we're not. Yeah. We're not like the blueberry industry right now. We got a ways to go.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. It's just
there's
like,
some,
I mean, I would like to grow pecans in Michigan, but there's not a good cold hardy pecan yet, propagated to the extent that I would grow pecans. Just
maybe that's your next thing you're gonna do.
no, I think uh, Melanie, I turned 74
No
in
way.
May, and
You're
I
kidding
really,
me.
no, I'm not.
Oh my goodness.
And
Okay.
I'm there's a time is a limit.
Yeah. What
So,
is your favorite part of the business if you kind of look back and look forward?
I like selling,
Yeah. Yeah, I knew you did. Okay. We
but
need
I
to,
but I I've always, I don't know, I've always, whatever I've done, I've always been in leadership type roles. So
I was in the direct marketing business prior to what I'm doing now, and I've been to a couple of the postal service parties, conferences.
oh, you have, okay.
Oh, that's a
Yep.
big deal.
Oh yeah, I know several of those people
Yeah.
that run that now.
Yeah. It was fun. We need something like that in the chestnut industry,
Yeah, you heard Jackie Craig? I don't know.
Well, it's been a while now, but
Oh,
yeah, I was up there a ways. But well, one last question, because a couple people have asked me, are you familiar with any grants that are available to people that are maybe wanting to start in the chestnut business?
there may be there. What you need to do is watch. I don't know, in Kentucky. I mean, I'm assuming you're talking people that are in Kentucky that want to do this.
Well, it's a couple of states, but one of the people is in Kentucky. Yes.
Okay. We have well, in Michigan we have called MDARD, which is the Michigan Rural Development, Rural Area Development,
Okay. Yep.
and they're an agency of agriculture, and there may be grants available. Sometimes there's a grant where you need to come up with 50%. I mean, let's say it was $50,000. You might need to come up with 25 to get that grant.
Okay. It's worth it. It's worth someone exploring if it meant they could go that route. I know just from my career that how we work is changing, and many of us have the ability now to live in a more rural community, and do something full time, but maybe something on the side too. And if we're to grow, we want to make people aware of these opportunities.
Right. Well, yeah. How shall I say this? In my situation, my personal situation, I told my brother-in-law, I says, now, okay, we're gonna start this orchard. It's gonna cost us some money to start. And we put it, we put, each of us put in $15,000 to get it going. But that's because we needed to buy the property. We didn't. A lot of people that I talk to now are growers that already own the property, and they want it. They're inherited. Their parents or grandparents, whatever, had the property, so they want to grow something different on the property than what's growing there already.
Yes.
That's a whole different ball game. But from my business standpoint, I told my brother-in-law's name is Doug. I said, okay, we're going to start this thing. And actually I told both of our wives too. I says, we're going to start this thing, but then eventually the chestnuts will pay our mortgage. And it took about, not more than probably about 6 years. And then we started having income. And then now it's every year we're able to cover our expenses and we've been able to do that for the last 10 years, cover our expenses.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I mean, there's a lot of financial models out on the internet of yields and selling price and all this. And we're not in full production yet, but we know there's a lot of other expenses that come with this business when you're getting started. You really have to know you're investing in something for a payoff down the road.
Yeah, you need
Um,
some money but it pays for itself now. It isn't like we get away, we pay a salary to ourselves or anything like that, but we're able to, cover everything that we're doing, plus buy new equipment,
mhm.
that sort of thing. So it's to me, it's like any other business. You gotta, if you have some capital to make it go, that's what you need to do.
Yeah,
But
I agree.
yeah, but from, well, where were we going with this?
Wait, I was asking, what's your favorite part of the business?
Oh, okay. Well, actually, well, growing the trees is what I like. I like to see. Oh gosh, I just mentioning this to my actually to another lady, a lady from Indiana that was interviewing me a couple weeks ago about chestnuts. Came to my orchard and stuff, and I says, what's really cool is when in May things start to show up as far as budding goes, and then the trees start. They're like the last trees to really leaf out. Well, walnuts are late to leaf out as well, and then just watch from right now in June. Watch you have the catkins, then watch those catkins grow on the trees, and then like in the next week or so, you're going to see the beginnings of and you may in Kentucky you get it earlier, but right
Yep.
now in Michigan I'll see where the birds are going to be and their development, and it's so quick. I mean, it's just a
Yeah.
matter of weeks, and then by the middle of July you'll see the birds growing, and you'll see them in August really getting bigger and bigger, and then before you know it, it's September, and the birds start to drop in early October. So when they drop, and then of course we set up a temporary electric fence around around the orchard so the deer can't get in, starting in the middle of September. We fix it so
Okay.
that get in
That's
there.
interesting that it's a temporary fence.
Yeah, it's a temporary fence. It works well for me because we mechanical harvest the orchard, and I need to keep the deer out so we don't have the deer poop in the orchard. But
Yep.
growing the trees and watching the development each year, and I've got
It's
three
fun.
sections. I've got the older section that's like 25 years old. I've got the middle block that's about between 8 and 10 years old, and then I've got the new block, which is just 2-year-old trees growing it, and it's just fun. And
Yes. Well, you can probably relate to this. I woke up at 3:30 this morning because I heard rain, and we haven't had rain for about a month.
oh
And
yeah,
we are so excited, just all those trees out there so thirsty, and we haven't irrigated to this point. We're thinking if we'll do that in the future. We've got about 1,000 trees right now, but we're putting in more. And so we don't, we're learning, will all those make it and do great, and
Yeah.
trying to diversify, because we have Dunstan and some Chinese, but we have some from the University of Missouri as well.
okay.
So it's just keeps us going.
Yeah.
So for anyone listening to this, I just wanted to give a shout out to the Chestnut Growers of America Conference that's coming up July 23rd through the 27th in Columbia. And then
Exciting. It's going to be really good.
I know, I'm just so excited about it. The Midwest Chestnut Producers Council is having an orchard tour August 21st. And then
Yes.
I know that you have, what is your event?
Well, we have our annual CGI meeting for members.
Okay, I got it.
That's on a Saturday. Actually, it's the following Saturday, 26th, but that's not for people that, I mean, it's not an open, it's just
Got
open
it.
to membership. We have to have, if you're incorporated, you have to have an annual meeting every year and involve, not everybody shows up. We even provide lunch for everybody, for the members, and that's our voting period where when you attend, you can vote for board of directors, and then
Okay,
the board of directors later on decide who's president, who's vice president, and all that good stuff. But
absolutely. Well,
yeah.
in closing, do you have any last words of wisdom for people new in this business or considering joining?
Well, join MCPC if you're interested. I mean, in developing your knowledge, and join Chestnut Growers of America, because they represent growers from all over the United States. And to go to the meeting that they have every year, it's usually in a different location in the United States. We're working on having the meeting in New York State for 2024. And then 2025, we're probably going to be on the West Coast.
Oh, wow. Okay. And don't forget Kentucky.
Okay. Well, we need to talk about that offline.
Okay. All right. Well, that sounds good. Well, I will, I so appreciate you joining me here, Roger, and we'll look forward to sharing this with the people.
Thanks for listening to Branching Out, hosted by United Chestnuts. For information about chestnut trees and chestnuts, visit unitedchestnuts.com. Subscribe to the weekly blog and join the United Chestnuts community Facebook group. Let's grow together.